Okay, so the source material we looked at today is this transcript from, well, a pretty chaotic live stream. It's billed as an open presentation panel, but it spirals fast into feuds, conspiracies, and some really wild personal confessions.
Yes, spirals is the word. And what's striking is how the most engaging bits, the things that really pop, seem almost accidental. So I think our main goal here should be figuring out how to harness that raw energy, give it some shape so it's sustainable, not just, viral noise.
Exactly. Let's dive right in then. Our first point is about rebranding and structuring the content to match audience expectations. Because right now, there's this huge gap, isn't there, between the formal name Open Presentation Panel and what it actually delivers, which is like pure, raw digital drama, personal vlogging almost.
Oh, absolutely. That disconnect is obvious from the get-go. The title suggests one thing, but where's all the heat? It's in the hosts complaining about being excommunicated. It's the random life updates like the Goodwill haul, the Puma shoes story.
The bike repair, finding a vape. Yeah.
Right, and the nonstop personal fights. That's where the audience is hooked, it seems.
And this lack of clear branding, it kind of hides what makes it compelling. They're advertising this like formal seminar, but they're actually serving up this addictive, messy reality show, which is what people are clearly tuning in for. They need to embrace the chaos.
Yeah, embrace it. So the suggestion here is pretty fundamental. A major rebranding and a structural overhaul. It's about professionalizing that chaos, Make the presentation part an actual defined segment, not this unreliable thing that just gets constantly sideswiped by drama.
Okay, I definitely see the need for the overhaul. But, here's a thought. If we professionalize it too much, do we risk smoothing out that raw edge, that high engagement they get from it being so unedited? There's a balance, right?
Absolutely, that's the key. It's not about making it sterile. It's about making it reliable. So first step, rebrand the channel. Make the title actually reflect the drama, the host's personality. Maybe use that in exile idea they talk about. That tells people up front. Conflict and personal stuff is the main course here. Presentations are maybe the side dish.
Right, okay. And building on that, those spontaneous moments, they're gold because they make the host relatable, grounded. So we should probably suggest dedicated, recurring segments for them. Short ones, like little vignettes.
Yes, formalize them. Like call it the haul report or something. 2 minutes on the Puma shoes, the Adidas, the snacks they found. It gives the audience that personal connection they want, but it doesn't derail the whole show for an hour.
And this is crucial, I think, for keeping it going. The celebrity gossip, the conflict stuff. Right now it just flares up. They need a specific segment, maybe the accountability hour, like you said, a place to systematically tackle the feuds, the Snafu thing, Cage, the bad apple, media drama with Tar. If the brand is about accountability, you've got to structure it so you deliver that consistently.
Exactly. That shift from just random explosions to planned segments, that's how you keep an audience long term. But okay, once they fix the branding, the next big hurdle is making that brand, ethically sustainable, which leads us right into the toxicity issue.
Yeah, good transition. That's our second major point. Establishing and enforcing boundaries to mitigate tonal toxicity and improve host credibility. Because there's this constant swing, isn't there, between genuine vulnerability, which is engaging, and then this really aggressive, damaging rhetoric. It kind of undermines the host saying they want to connect with human beings.
It's a massive contradiction, and the weakness is clear. The conflicts escalate way past any kind of professional critique. You get these incredibly personal, vicious attacks. Like quoting Stephen's comment about Margot's son. That's just brutal.
Horrific.
And when there are no clear lines, no enforcement, you push away the empathetic viewers, the ones you might want long-term. You risk looking just like the degenerate demons and trolls the host claims to be fighting against.
And the irony is the host fails to show the very composure they seem to value. They even admitted, didn't they, that keeping composed is a confidence booster?
That's fascinating, right? So if composure boosts confidence, then not enforcing boundaries, letting things get that ugly, it actually broadcasts a lack of confidence. So, to build a real community, to be seen as this reliable voice of accountability they seem to want to be, they absolutely have to draw clear lines, especially around attacks on family, the deceased. That stuff needs to be off limits.
So the suggestion really is about demonstrating a commitment to actual critique, not just demolition, emotional demolition. It's about making ethical calls in the heat of the moment.
Totally. They need to identify those lines, like the attacks on Margot's son, Jack's dead brother, and shut them down immediately, instantly. That shows a moral standard. You can critique someone's actions, sure, but going after their dead relatives, that just destroys your own credibility.
And it's a similar principle with the personal confessions, isn't it? Admitting to smoking crystal methamphetamine or using the fake service dog leash. That stuff is potent. But just dropping them like bombs for shock value, it doesn't really serve a purpose.
Right, they need context, some reflection. How does this fit into the host's story, their exile? Frame it somehow. Otherwise, the audience just hears it as self-destructive behavior, which doesn't exactly bolster the authority needed for the presentation parts.
And crucially, in those arguments, like the Landry versus TML thing, the host has to model better behavior. Getting drawn into using slurs like retard and faggot, even if quoting someone else?
Yeah, that takes the whole accountability angle immediately.
It does. They need to make a choice, paraphrase, redact, something, or they just become part of the noise they're supposedly critiquing.
Okay, so we've hit structure, we've hit boundaries and tone. Now let's look at the actual content, the panel part they seem invested in. Which brings us to elevating argumentative rigor within technical and conspiracy presentations.
Right. Because that detailed presentation, the one mapping end times prophecy onto DC geography, it's visually interesting, but it seems to rely completely on "this looks like that." It doesn't really offer the logical backup to get from "looks like" to "this is evidence of."
It's visually compelling, yeah, but intellectually, it's thin right now. The whole argument rests on assertion, on coincidence. Like saying the DC layout maps the fall of America, or the National Stadium looks like a nuke target, or Louisiana is the boot for the statue.
And the weakness there is assuming that the visual resemblance is the proof. For the kind of listener they seem to want, the ones into deep dives on theology or geopolitics, just saying, "Look, it fits," isn't enough. It doesn't hold up as a solid argument. They need to explain the method, not just show the picture.
That's the heart of it. So the suggestion is, if you want that knowledgeable audience to take you seriously, you have to define and justify your interpretive method. You need some kind of verifiable, non-visual evidence, or at least a consistent key or system to back up these huge claims about nukes, the heart machine, the Pope's role, whatever it is.
Okay, so for instance with the DC map overlay, they need to explain the why. Why does the Capitol map to Houston specifically, or the White House to San Antonio? What's the logic behind those connections beyond just "it fits"? Is there a historical text, a code, a theological principle driving the interpretation?
Exactly. And same for the historical claims. Saying America is a daughter of Babylon, Rome, just because the Supreme Court has Catholic justices, okay, but where's the link? You need to cite actual sources, establish historical or theological methods that let you make that jump from modern politics to ancient prophecy. Otherwise, it just feels like opinion dressed up as fact.
Here's maybe a creative way to tie things together. They could integrate the personal stuff, the chaos, into the bigger theory.
Ooh, I like that. How so?
Well, address the elephant in the room, the style itself. Defend why something seemingly random from the host's life, like the Puma logo on the shoe from the Goodwill haul, or that gold vape pen, why that is actually significant to the grand overarching biblical conspiracy they're laying out.
Ah, I see. So if the argument is everything is connected, then connect it. Argue that the Puma logo isn't just a logo, it's a demonic symbol deliberately placed in consumer culture as part of the prophecy.
Right. That way, the personal chaos isn't separate and jarring. It actually feeds into the investigative work. It makes the whole thing more coherent, even within its own internal logic. It leverages their unique style instead of fighting it.
Yeah, weaving the personal into the conspiratorial. That could actually elevate the argument's rigor in a way that's unique to them while still demanding better evidence for the core claims. Okay, interesting.
So that pretty much covers our main points. To quickly recap the actionable suggestions. First, professionalize the structure. Use dedicated segments, like the Hall Report, to embrace and contain the drama that's clearly working.
Second, draw and enforce clear behavioral lines. Shut down the truly toxic personal attacks. Model the desired composure. That's key for credibility.
And third, beef up the logic in the presentations. Define the interpretive method, move past just "it looks like," and actually cite evidence or establish methodologies for the big claims.
Yeah, we think tackling these areas, structure, ethics, and logic, could really transform this from something chaotically engaging into a show with real sustainable impact.
We definitely encourage you to take these points, refine the material, and please feel free to submit a revised version. We'd be happy to take another look. Until then, keep pushing to improve.